The slow dancing of the flames reflected in Yin's eyes, as she could only stare at the fireplace while she sat on the sofa in the drawing room. She can barely hear Midnight's voice, as she's far too concerned in keeping her head still in order to contain her headache. But as the doors opened and Bakugou walked inside, she moved her head to look at him without thinking, and the sudden motion caused her brain to undergo a sprawling craze. "I expect you to have something important to say, as you can call us here," Midnight said as she motioned to every person in the room. Aside from the two females, there were Kirishima, Kaminari, Sero, and Midoriya. Bakugou decided his seat and opted to stand behind the couch across Midnight and Yin. His lips fell into a flat line as he grabbed the top of the backrest. Yin tried to maintain her headache by massaging her temples before Bakugou could speak so she could at least pay attention. "I need your advice," the blonde said. "Oh, well, that's a first," Midnight teased, sharing a look with Midoriya before Bakugou could bite back at her. She asked, "All right, how can we help?" "That half-and-half bastard wanted to go south, to Terra. He said he wanted to forge an alliance with the purple bastard as well." "With King Shinso?" Yin asked, formulating and possibly reasons to why, as Todoroki would want to go and ally himself with Shinso of all. However, the headache seems to be most dormanted in her mind as of now. It makes sense, seeing that Terra is pledged to Igneous. King Todoroki would want to allies with them as well. Midoriya noted. Yin met her eyes when she suddenly remembered about the conflict. The South and the only four of them, Kirishima, Midoriya, Bakugou, and her, were all still the only ones who knew how it ended. Yin could never forget about it. "Well, let him go then. 3 kingdoms united? That could be more better," Kirishima queried, positive as ever. The blonde king then said, "He wants me to go with him." "Well, go!" Midnight called for Bakugou's attention. "I agree with Kirishima. Perhaps it would be more convincing for the South if you and King Todoroki were to permit your allies together. King Shinso is never one for war. I bet he'll agree, especially when he sees you and King Todoroki getting along." "It's not like King Shinso has a choice," Sero claimed, to which Kaminari laughed and Bakugou glared at him for it. The blonde then decided to forget about it and respond to Midnight instead. "Yeah, we're not getting along," Bakugou deadpanned, "but I'm starting to think that it might be a good idea for me to go as well." Everyone turned to Midoriya. The scholar almost jumped as he answered, "It is indeed a good idea, Your Majesty. Lady Midnight is right. It would be credible enough for King Shinso if both you and King Todoroki are present." Bakugou seems to contemplate, but not a moment later, he offered an answer. "Fine. I'll just go to make sure there's no funny business going on." Midnight clapped. "Splendid. When will you leave?" "In 4 days, and I think we'll be gone for a month or 2. Bakugou turned to his wife. "And you'll be in charge." Yin smiled. "Of course." He then turned back to everyone. "That's settled," said. "You can all get out now." Midnight was the first to shut up from her seat, claiming she needs to go do her beauty routine. The others followed to rest or do their remaining work. In the end, Yin and Bakugou were the only ones left in the room. Bakugou moved to the couch across her and sat while letting out a tired sigh. And there I thought, I'm almost done with that damn paperwork," he grumbled. Yin smiled sheepishly at him, thinking that the trip and Todoroki's positive alliance with Shinso will cause another set of paperwork to be signed. "It's all right. I can finish the rest of your work while you go to the South," she offered, and Bakugou turned to her with a raised brow. "You sure?" "Yes, I'm almost finished with mine." He seemed to consider it, but suddenly recalled. "No, I can finish all of them before I go." "Of course you can." She only smiled, knowing how stubborn he is. Then they were silent. Only the sound of the wood crackling against the heat of the fire in the hearth resonated in the room, giving a homely and quiet night overtone between the two of them. As much as the atmosphere could calm Yin. Her headache is splitting her head apart while a sudden urge grew in her mind. The urge to ask Bakugou about his mother. "What is it?" he asked, having noticed her intense and conflicting staring. Yin is fighting battle in her pouring head. Yet? She opted to open the topic. "You never told me about your mother. About how she died." A flash of pain was seen in Bakugou's eyes for a few seconds before he turned away from her, preventing her to see any more of his vulnerability pain. His ache as a son who lost his mother years ago, the ache that will never be forgotten. Yin started to wonder if his mother's death has got something to do with him starting a war with Todoroki. There's really nothing to talk about. His voice was low, the lowest she had ever heard his vocals. Yin knew if he raised his voice into a much higher volume, she could hear the pain breaking and cracking through his every words, like a dull knife slowly carving into the man's heart. She decided this is not the right time. Bakugou is a very secluded man ever since their marriage. Now that they have gotten much better, doesn't mean he's ready to open all of himself for her yet. The same goes for her case, but they can try, and they must try. All right, then. Yin took a deep breath to contain the pain as she stood, and her headache dulled her vision, sparkling, graining, and shadowy images of her surroundings. She lost her balance for a few seconds when her vision spun, but she was quick to steady herself. Bakugou stood, arms holding out for her in fear that she might fall, even though she had already balanced herself as hands reached out to grip the side of her arms. "Hey, you good?" he asked, leaning closer to her face. Yin nodded and smiled while looking at him in the eyes to assure him. "Yes, I'll be going to my chambers now to rest." His hands rested to rub at her arm, and without thinking, he placed a chessy kiss on her forehead. I think it's supposed to be quick kiss. It's spelled weird. "Yeah, you go do that." Yin smiled. "Good night," she said before breaking away from his hold and walked out of the room. The next 4 days went on with a blur, and before Yin even knew it, she was watching her husband leave Igneous again. Reculation grew deeply butterflies in her stomach. She tried to convince herself it's just her, turning sicker and sicker as the days go by. However, deep inside, she knew that it's pure worry that she feels, genuine dread for her husband's safety. The last time he left Igneous, he was brought back in a dying state, and the fact that until now, Cammy is still on the run, no one knows what's coming for her husband. Her nerves are exploding, thinking that maybe another ambush will befall on him, fearing that his attacks might success on killing him this time. Bakugou was talking to Kirishima outside at the palace courtyard when the carriage was being preparated. They looked like they were all done and ready to leave. Yin must go and see her husband before he parts. "Queen Yin," a voice prevented her from going to his side. She turned to see that it was King Todoroki. Upon seeing him, Yin's feelings became more ill, too much ill that she felt she might faint soon. She can't help it. She's already wary of him, but after she found out about what his father did to Queen Mitsuki, Yin can no longer fight the empathy she had developed for the Northern King. She held her ground when King Todoroki came forward to get closer to her, even though she wanted to flee from him. "Your Majesty," he granted again, her voice breaking. "You are worried for your husband." He noted her pale face. "But I assure you that I will do my best to keep our journey safe." "Thank you, Your Majesty," she said in a low voice. A pause occurred between the two of them, as Yin chose not to say anything more and started to plan her escape from this conversation. Meanwhile, King Todoroki seemed to have something more yet to say as he struggled with it, and so Yin decided to use this opportunity to leave. "I must excuse myself, Your Majesty. I have to. I'm not my father," he suddenly blunted, startling Yin. His tone of voice, as she noted, concerned lots of emotions. There was an undying pain on it while determination follows, and the one that dominated the most was pure anger. And I swear on my life that I will never become like him, he added, and there was no more words that followed after what, for the Northern King turned his back on her and left before she could even say anything. It's not like Yin has something to say. His sudden words stunned her. Judging from that encounter, Yin started to formulate a calculation that the King Todoroki may despise his father. No son would speak but their father like that useless unless he failed at it. Enji Todoroki must have failed at it. Hey, we're leaving. Yin was pulled out of her thoughts by her husband's voice. She turned and saw him standing by the palace doors. Upon seeing that her attention is now slowly on him, he stepped into the foyer and stood close in front of her. She is finally at ease once she caught a whiff of his scent. You sure you're all right? You've been pale these past few days. Bakugou observed her. I'm fine, she smiled. You should be looking out for yourself as soon as you leave. Have Kirishima and a dozen guards by your side at all times. Make sure you eat and sleep well. And I know that it's hard to move around while traveling, but don't forget about your hygiene as well. Yin has a lot more to say to him, but was cut off guard by his chuckle. What? What's so funny? She asked. You and your long list of reminds. We never had this before. I'm just worried, that's all. The last time you left, you came back half, dead. Yeah, but you were there. You saved me. And I wish not to do it for a second time, so I don't want you to come back in that state ever again. Yin could feel her entire body buzzing in heat as she finished her words. Bakugou was right. They never had this sentimental goodbyes before, and the fact that they're having it now is both a foreign and a satisfying feeling. Even she could not compare how and where all of this was coming from. I won't, he said, gazing at her eyes. I'll kill myself before I come back dead. A small laugh came from her lips as she thought of how ridiculous his statement was. She smiled at him once again, a beautiful and tender smile. I'll see you soon. She waited for him to step back and leave, but he just stood there, gazing at her as if the most glittering light of the heavens shone upon her. All of a sudden, Bakugou stepped closer, closing the gap between them as he raised a hand to place under her chin. Yin's head leaned forwards towards him, and as Bakugou moved his head, their lips connected into a kiss, the very softest kiss they've ever shared. It lasted enough for them to feel the yearnings that have for each other. When they broke apart, Yin couldn't stop, the wide smile on her face and the heating in her cheeks. Bakugou's lips curved upon in a small, subtle way while his forehead rested upon hers. Without any more words spoken, just soft smiles and pure admiration within their eyes, they slowly torn apart from each other. Yin watched as her husband walked away from her. She watched as he disappeared into the many carriages that lined up, and the party started moving away from the palace until they were shrouded under the line where the sky and ground meet. Sin got tired of seeing her younger sister run around the castle collecting and signing papers here and there. Apparently, there's been a roll of inflation in one of the storehouses in town, and the citizens reached out to her to order to fix the problem. Of course, Sin would know that Yin will respond to it as soon as possible. She loves aiding those who are in need in any way she can. Sin has no complaints of her sister's charitable acts while balancing her paperwork. In fact, she supports it so much that she often to help in dealing with the inflation problems. However, she wished that her younger sister could slow down just a bit. It's been a week since King Bakugou and Todoroki left for the south. Yin had done nothing but worked the past few days. Sin reckoning that she's trying to distract herself with work to make up for the yearning she felt for her husband. As much as it is sad for Yin, her older sister finds it endearing. Still, she should slow down because Sin started to notice that her younger sister is looking more sick as more hectic days passed as her. And so this morning, Sin used her skills to being nosy to pursue her sister into sitting down and breakfast without any parchment shown in her face for once. Yin looked a lot sicker than ever and weakly yielded into her sister's demands. They were then joined by Midnight in a private dining room. Yin sat beside Midnight and Sin, settling across from her. Her little sister was quiet in the whole duration of the breakfast, while Midnight and Sin decided to amuse themselves in a conversation about the weather. Midnight then turned to Yin. Yin, dear, don't slouch. Yin was taken aback and straightened her posture. Why? Are you not wearing a corset? Midnight asked after observing her. I'm not so inclined of wearing them today, Yin answered while bringing up a hand to massage her chest. Whoa. She then finished her breakfast and decided to excuse herself to do more work. Sin was just ready to bring her little sister back to her seat when Midnight suddenly raised a hand and squeezed one of Yin's breasts. Midnight! Yin gasped and quickly stepped away from the noble, her hands coming up to cover her closed chest. Midnight didn't say anything and merely gave Yin a look with her eyes narrowed. Too embarrassed, Yin wasn't able to say anything and only walked out of the room. Sin has her jaw on the floor by what she had just witnessed. All of a sudden, a thought crossed her mind, an important and straining thought. I'm so sorry. Please excuse me. Sin smiled towards Midnight before following her sister. She saw her disappear into her chambers and decided to follow. When Sin got inside, she saw Yin standing by her desk and organizing the parchment she needed to sign, and she's breathing heavily as if she's about to faint. Are you okay? I saw what happened back there. Yin, don't tell me. Sin was cut off by her sister's breathing patterns picking up, her hand coming to her head, and she winced. I feel dizzy. Yin panted as suddenly her eyes rolled at the back of her head, and she was falling. Yin! As soon as Yin's eyes fluttered open, she felt as if her insides are being sailed into a raging storm in the sea. She felt queasy and graspy, couple of incoming aches in her head. Immediately, Yin closed her eyes, and that's when she started to focus on the feeling she's able to feel. She felt a cold burst of drawn coming from her window and the softness of her mattress beneath her. Suddenly, she felt something warm clasp under her left hand. Opening her eyes, she saw her sister sitting by her bed with a deranged expression playing on her face. She didn't smile upon seeing Yin awake. Instead, it seems like her frightened was doubled. When Yin turned to the two figures beside her sister, she saw the physician, Sir Magnum, and Uraka. What happened? She croaked, trying to sit up, and her sister was quick to assist her while Uraka fetched a glass of water for her. Yin drowned it in a few seconds before turning her curious gaze back to the only three people in her chambers. You fainted, Yin, her sister provided. Yin didn't say anything as she started to think that she's feeling isn't just any ordinary headache or sickness. Is there something you're not telling us about your whereabouts and well-beings? Her sister inquired, brows furrowed and her eyes conflicted. Shaking her head, Yin started to blabber. I don't know. I've been having this tenderness ache for a week and I vomit this morning. Is there something wrong with me? Her sister shared a look with Uraka and Sir Magnum. Something about their gaze tells them there really is something wrong with her. Then her sister's next words filled Yin's whole body cold and felt like fainting again. Yin, you're pregnant.